Welcome to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple.
We're so thrilled today to have Shanti will be joining us today from the wild. Welcome, Shanti. It's so great to have you.
Thank you.
She is cake artist and plant-based chef extraordinaire. Doesn't that make you feel so hungry just saying those words?
Always on a Monday morning makes me feel hungry, yeah.
I'm so looking forward to eating the cake that you brought with you.
Oh, yes.
Can't wait to see it and taste it. It's all the good things. Yes. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
So Shanti, tell us, before we get into the nitty-gritty wedding exciting goss, tell us a little bit more about From the Wild. You found this amazing niche. I don't want to give too much away. I want to hear it from you. We've already heard the amazing buzzwords plant-based from Dana. Talk us through what From the Wild is all about, please.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a couple of dietary intolerances. So I'm gluten-free and dairy-free. When I was younger, I also couldn't have a lot of sugary products and stuff. And so I've always struggled when it comes to dessert, going out for dinner, going to a wedding, that kind of thing. It just always feels like if you're more than one dietary intolerance or allergy, it's like gluten-free and dairy-free, then there's either only one or zero options on the menu for you. So I just found that really frustrating. And about almost 7 years ago now, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. Because even at my own wedding, which was almost 14 years ago now, got married very young, I didn't even have a gluten-free cake, even though at the time I was diagnosed as having a gluten intolerance. So I just, didn't even get to enjoy my own wedding cake. I had one bite because I wanted to try it, but it just wasn't a thing. And I know that people with intolerances often feel like they're missing out. So
especially at your own wedding.
Oh, I know.
To miss out. And the cake, it's amazing.
It's terrible, really. It's so sad when you can't have it. And really the moment that changed everything for me was there was a lot that led up to making that decision. But the moment that changed everything was I was at a graduation dinner for some people graduating a course. And it was at a lovely establishment in Byron, actually. And, we all submitted our dietaries before. It was a 3-course meal, and it got to the dessert. And, someone to the left of me's got baked cheesecake. Someone else has chocolate pudding. There was apple pie. And I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to have? And it was literally a tinned fruit salad. And there wasn't even like a complimentary sprig of mint on top. It was just literally just a shove it in a bowl, put it on the table, bit of an FU dessert. And I was like, right, that's it. I'm doing something about this.
Oh, that is
You
Goulburn
don't expect that
Valley.
in Byron Bay
No.
either.
I know, of all the places.
Yeah.
And so, came back we knew we were leaving to move back to Adelaide at that stage, moved back, and I was like, right, when I move back, I'm starting a business. And that's kind of where the idea and the frustration and the inspiration kind of occurred to really do something about it. Yeah.
That's
Amazing. So what did you do about it specifically? What now are you offering people who have those dietaries? What can they expect?
Yeah.
What can From the Wild offer them?
Well, I decided to cover a variety of dietaries in all of the products. So instead of just saying I can do just gluten-free or just dairy-free, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start offering things that are always going to be gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan-friendly, and soy-free. And then when I first started, it was 100% refined sugar-free as well. And now it's mostly refined sugar-free, sort of depending on your dietary needs. And I started with wedding cakes. So we started January 2016. The 1st of January was our first wedding cake for a surprise backyard wedding. I didn't even know it was a wedding cake.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, this is not an engagement party. It's a wedding. Gosh, glad I really made the cake look nice. So started there in January, and then from February 2016 onwards, I decided to also kind of start stocking cafes because I really wanted to be able to go out for coffee and kind of have an option. I knew that other people had that too. So kind of twofold, it was wholesaling to other businesses and then offering wedding cakes that kind of cover a variety of needs, which has kind of also led into, you know, being a supplier that caterers really love to use as well. Because if they have 2 gluten-free guests, a couple of vegan guests, dairy-free and a nut-free person, I'm covering everything for them in the dessert aspect of things, which for a lot of people, it just saves you the headache, really. Really we aim to tick a lot of dietary boxes and to keep the ingredients as natural and wholesome as possible where we can, just because I know for me, like if I was to have a very sugary dessert, even if it was gluten-free and dairy-free, it just doesn't feel good after, you know, I might have a bit of a headache or feel funny in my tummy. So I wanted people to not just enjoy looking at the cake and eating the cake, but feel good afterwards as well.
And it would still taste really amazing. Like I remember having a cake at a wedding a few years ago. You might actually know the person that has made it. They're called Grain-Free Sisters.
Oh,
they're in the hills. They made this cake for their daughter-in-law, and it is the best wedding cake I've ever tasted in my whole life.
So
and it
good.
was like had like nothing in it. I mean, it's got stuff in it, but I don't know what it had in it. But
Magic. It was full of magic.
It was. I had 3 pieces.
I love it. Probably lots of nuts maybe and maple syrup and
it was just delicious.
and it's amazing how a cake like that can be so memorable when it actually feels good and tastes good.
Yeah.
I have people emailing me that are like, I'm still thinking about our wedding cake from 6 years ago. Just because it's like they remember what it tasted like and they reminisce over it.
Yum.
Exactly. Maybe you should be offering like anniversary cakes or something.
Yes, I know. I thought about that.
Really?
Send like a little mini anniversary cake a year after.
That would be so sweet. Literally.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
So Shanti, when it comes to having a dessert or a wedding cake at a wedding, what flavours are people kind of choosing? Like what do you find is the most popular?
Well, I mean, it really does depend on the person. Generally, what I like to kind of ask them is, you know, what kind of experiences have they had where they can remember a certain flavour in mind, or what are their favourite flavours? Because a lot of our guests, if they are coming to us with dietaries, I really want it to be clear to them that they get to choose what they want. So we normally try and do a mix. So for example, if they have a 2-tiered cake or a single-tiered cake with some mini desserts, I'll say, look, why don't we choose the bottom tier, which is the biggest tier? That can be your favourite flavour. And then the other flavours can be the crowd-pleasing favourites.
Excellent.
Yeah, so just kind of give it a mix of both so they really get to enjoy their favourite flavour and the other flavour, but they don't feel like they've had to sacrifice everything for the sake of everyone else. Because, you know, when you get married, opinions start flying your way.
They do.
Everyone wants to tell you how to get married, what kind of cake to get, what flavours to choose. So typically I find that any kind of well-known flavours are popular because I think, you know, people kind of go, oh yeah, I've had that before and I know that I liked it. So for example, choc vanilla, choc raspberry. One popular one is a vanilla caramel with like, you know, baked
caramel.
vanilla cake. We have like a coconut caramel and then there's like a cashew cream in between each layer as well. And you can do toasted nuts and stuff as well in there, like as a bit of a crumb. That's a very popular flavour. And then for the people that really love something a bit lighter and fresher, I find that raspberry and white chocolate or lemon blueberry seem to be very popular flavours as well.
Oh, sound amazing.
Yeah. And then there are the people that just own what they love and they're like, no, I want it all peanut caramel or I want it all this. And it's like,
I want an avocado cake right now.
I just want it all the same flavour. I want what I want and that's that.
Which is a really nice thing because like you said before, people with an intolerance or an allergy are often used to having that, or this is all you can have.
Exactly.
Oh, well, you're difficult, so this is all you can have and it's a wedge of watermelon while everyone else is eating cake.
Literally,
No
yeah.
shade on watermelon. Love watermelon.
Delicious.
But I think that it's really amazing to hear that you're saying to these couples or, whoever's getting married or having this celebration, hey, you tell me your intolerances and your allergies. I'm going to work to them, but also tell me your favorite flavor. Of course, you can still have that. It's not like, oh, okay, well, for the gluten-free, dairy-free, you can only have the this.
Yeah.
Oh, and the nut-free, well, you can only have the this.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's amazing. My son has a severe allergy and anaphylactic reaction to both peanuts and sesame.
Gosh.
So we're an EpiPen family.
Yeah.
But I think even seeing when they're little, they can always have a little bit of fruit or they can always, go to the in inverted commas, sad food table. But it's really exciting to hear, that there are businesses out there and that you're championing this idea of, but we can still make something delicious.
Yeah.
And, that's so important in the wedding industry, but it's nice to know there'll be a trickle-down effect to birthday parties and, in my head now I'm just planning my next family event. So do the podcast and then place order with Shanti.
Totally. We have a cake tasting box for later.
But I do think that's really important. So it's awesome that you're doing that for couples. That's great.
Absolutely. I think it is important. And, I think for them to feel like there's full permission to really indulge in what they want, it's just, it's can be a very powerful thing because a lot of them are like, well, my mum thinks that I should do this. And I'm like, stepping into marriage counseling for a moment and just being like, but what do you want?
Yes.
How does that make you feel? So it's good.
This whole amazing process sounds like you've thought it out so well. You've been really focused on the experience for the couple, obviously the taste at the end. Can you expand on that a little bit in the way of letting us know, what is the start to finish process you go through with your couple, but also what's the start to finish process you go through with your dessert? Obviously you love it and give it a kiss goodbye when it goes out the door, but how do you go from kind of sitting there in your studio to creating this dessert? Talk us through a bit of everything, please.
Right. Okay. So, well, initially the couple will obviously inquire with me and normally it's just I find actually a lot of the time when people do inquire, it's like, oh, quick, we need to book in a wedding cake maker. Let's just send her a quick email and see if she's available. It's like, hey, we're getting married in November. What are your prices? Yeah. And so then I'll be like, hey, how's it going? Thank you for contacting me. Generally, just to get a basic ballpark of what they're after, I will ask them, what's the actual date of the wedding? Is it November like tomorrow or November next year? Like what year is it? And, just get a bit of an idea of like the number of guests they have, the date of the wedding, the venue location, because weirdly enough, I get a lot of inquiries from New South Wales. I think our cake is listed on somewhere, like our cake services are listed somewhere. We get a lot of Victorian and New South Wales couples who are looking for a cake. And we did actually send a cake to Mildura like a couple of weeks ago. One of the wedding guests actually came and picked it up on the way through, which is so lovely. So it would don't necessarily say no to that stuff, but I always have to check because sometimes they'll mention a venue and I'm like, I've never heard of that venue. It's either new or it's not in South Australia. Yeah. So definitely figure out where they are, where they're getting married. And then really it's just like that sort of crucial information to figure out, how big would the cake be? Are they wanting just one styled cake? Are they wanting minis? Just so that I can send them some quotes and really start to just kind of talk about this is what I could offer and these are the prices. So, often if someone says we're undecided, I'll say, well, look, I'll give you like 2 or 3 quotes. So one quote might be for the whole cake just being styled like 4-tiered cake. Another quote might be a 2-tiered or 3-tiered cake with 50 minis. And then, the other quote might be for a tall single-tiered cake with 100 minis or 70 minis, depending on the number of guests they have. And if they are wanting like just smaller desserts, we'll often talk about how many quantities they might need because often people will think, one cake per person. But if you have lots of small cakes that are different flavoured sort of cakes as well, on a platter, people will often choose at least 2 things because they want a bit of variety.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's like, oh, look at all this cake.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you're like,
And
oh,
then
I want a bit of this. I want a bit of this.
If I'm going to their wedding, they need to allocate 10 to
yeah,
me.
exactly.
So,
Minimum 3 to 5, if not 10 to
Yeah.
20.
10 to 20 sounds reasonable per
Yeah,
guest.
exactly.
It's a lot of cake.
Yeah, I know, right? And actually, funnily enough, I try to help people get a really precise number of sort of like the slice yield for the appropriate amount of guests. But I often find people will go bigger. They actually want leftover cake, especially if they've already had our cake.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no, we definitely want leftovers because
Yeah.
maybe they might have a family event the next day.
Yes.
And then maybe they want to pop some in the freezer for when they get back from their honeymoon or something
Yeah.
like that. So that's kind of, we start that process and that conversation. And by that point, they will kind of know what my price point is and whether or not it's within their budget.
Yeah.
If they come back and go, yep, absolutely amazing, we're interested in option number 2, then I'll go, okay, let's do a tasting. If they get back to me and they're like, that's a little bit out of our budget, that's not entirely what we expected it to cost, then I'll say, instead of trying to squish, you know, an $800 budget into a $600 budget or $800 cost into a $600 budget, I might say, well, what is your budget and what might you hope to get out of that? And then I can always adjust. So maybe that might look like a smaller cake with slab that's sliced on the premises or something like that. So I really do try to cater to lots of different price points because I although our cakes are costly to make, I really like being able to fluctuate in the kinds of people that we cater to and stuff like that. But once they kind of go, yep, we're happy with this option, it's time to taste. So that will often happen in person, but if it's hard to line up our schedules, I'll say, look, I can send you a sample box with the information and you guys can taste at home. But generally, the in-person consult will just meet at a cafe halfway between, you know, wherever everyone lives. And it's just literally 30 to 60 minutes, having a coffee. I bring a cake tasting box and we just chat. And it's such a great opportunity to connect with the couple and for them to kind of see who I am and what I'm like as well. And it builds trust because, you know, when you are planning a wedding or thinking about a wedding cake, there's actually a lot of trust that is kind of required of the couple in the cake maker. So that time is a really great time of building trust. And I often find that everyone just feels a little bit more comfortable when we've had some FaceTime. So we normally just kind of walk through that. They do the cake tasting in front of me, which can sometimes feel a little bit vulnerable because it's like, oh, what if I don't like it? And sometimes someone will go, you know, I don't like this flavor, not just because they don't like the cake, but it's more so I don't like chocolate or I'm not a chocolate fan or something like that. So I sort of try and give them a variety of some of the more traditional flavors like vanilla chocolate, carrot cake with lemon cream, that kind of thing. And then we go a little further to, you know, a raspberry and white chocolate cheesecake, which is sort of like our raw vegan style, blueberry lemon cheesecake, which is also our raw vegan style, and then maybe a couple of like more richer ones like a brownie base with a bit of caramel and stuff like that. Something like really, really a bit like epically decadent. That's for the real sweet tooth kind of person.
I think me and Dana should pretend we're getting married and
Yeah, I think
do an
you should.
online inquiry. And then when you show up at the cafe, you'll be like, are you guys kidding?
Yeah.
But I promise.
You're like, yeah, this is within our budget for our pretend wedding.
Yes, this sounds good. See you at the cafe.
Well, we
Yeah,
have
that's
written our
right.
vows already. So
We did do, yes, in one of the episodes we did vows to each other. So
Yes.
I
I
think
love
add a
it.
wedding cake to
That's
that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Can't
I
go
think
wrong.
so.
Can't
Yeah.
go wrong.
I think it's important. It's important.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
you're really connecting with your couple
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
find out what they want. And you're really investing a lot of time and effort, which
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
so special. And
is.
it is sometimes something that maybe people who don't work in the wedding industry don't realize
Yeah.
how much, you know, you're not just slapping together a cake. Oh,
Yeah.
not that you slap together a cake, but
Yeah, yeah.
you're not just getting to go off to your studio and focus on your craft. you're actually pouring a lot of emotional energy into your couple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
So then I guess from there, you do go and slap together a cake. as
Yeah,
I said.
totally.
There's no slapping that happens, but like,
Yeah,
what does
pull
that
it all
look
together.
like for you?
Yeah. So from there, at that point in time, they will have a bit more of an idea of the cake flavor that they're vibing with and the kind of cake they want. So let's say they've chosen the 2-tiered cake option with some minis on the side just for a bit of variety. And in that instance, it would be maybe the 2-tiered cake would be 1 to 2 flavors. And then the minis, let's say they have, 50 minis, there might be 2 or 3 flavors in that. That's generally an option for people who are like, I can't decide. And then the other thing that I really like to talk to them about is their styling, obviously, because that's an important aspect. And I'll often work with the florist who they're using for the event and buy directly from them. Or if they just want something nice and natural, then I have a couple of local florists who are also flower farmers and I buy from them directly and make sure that it's as much as possible. I try to reduce, I guess, buying a lot of stuff out of season. So as much as possible, I try and get stuff in season, local, no packaging. It's in a bucket of water and I grab the flowers from their house kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I love that personal aspect of things. And as the person that sort of ends up styling the cake, it's so much more enjoyable when you like connected to the point of this flower was grown by the person in another suburb or down the road.
Yeah.
Like they farmed this, picked
awesome.
it yesterday and I'm putting it on the cake today. Like there's just
Gorgeous.
something about that. It's just like very magical.
Yeah.
So from that point, we just lock in the date, take a deposit obviously to secure the order. And then it's just about getting to the actual point of the cake making. And typically I will sort of, start prepping some ingredients anywhere from 3 to 5 days beforehand, depending on those ingredients. So maybe it might look like making some gel and putting that in a little silicone tray and then popping it in the freezer or some jam or something like that and then using those little sort of balls of goodness in the layers of the cakes. Sometimes it might look like getting my staff members to prep some of the baked cake ingredients, baking those layers and then having them ready for like actually making the buttercream and then assembling the cake on the day. But our cakes are kind of a little bit different in that, a lot of the time you'll see a video of a cake maker stacking baked cake layers, whereas I actually use a really lovely creamy cashew cream layer in between my baked layers when it is a baked cake, which means that mix is actually poured and not piped. So I will layer the cake in a tin, pour some of that vanilla cream on top and then swirl through something else, put another baked cake layer on, pour vanilla cream, swirl through a jam or a caramel and kind of do that for each tier and then set them in the freezer and then take them out and assemble the cake with buttercream and stuff like that or cashew cream, depending on the dietaries. So it's a little bit different in that it still looks the same when you cut through it with all the different layers, but it's a slightly different approach because the cashew cream that I use is sweetened with maple syrup. It's refined sugar-free. And it's just a recipe that I've had for almost 7 years that I've been tweaking and developing over time that I really love. And a lot of the people that taste the cakes will often really love that creamy layer as well. So it's kind of a little bit different. And then let's say the wedding's on a Saturday. I might pick up the flowers on a Thursday or Friday, make sure they're nice and fresh. And then on the Saturday, it's just really about, obviously leaving enough time to assemble the cake, buttercream, put a little bit of drip on it if you want, like a little chocolate drip, adding the flowers, which will sometimes look like wiring them and putting them straight into the cake or having a little green oasis on top with water so that they can stay hydrated for longer. And then just getting it ready for delivery. Our cakes are super heavy as well. So the more tiers, the more kilos the cake is actually going to weigh. So they're actually not as stressful to transport, but they're still very stressful to transport because it's a wedding cake. You feel the pressure of like driving carefully. Yeah. And literally when I drive this wedding cake, it's normally to a lovely area in the Barossa or McLaren Vale, and I live in Mount Barker. So it's at least a 45-minute drive in one direction.
Yeah.
And honestly, when I arrive and deliver the cake, it feels like I've been holding my breath for an hour. You deliver the cake and you're like, oh, okay. All right, I can breathe. I can drive at normal speeds around corners. Okay, cool. And then when it comes to the actual delivery of the cake as well, I like to make sure that the box is sufficiently labelled, obviously, so that they know who the cake is for. And I go a little bit overboard most likely in the printed sort of stickers on the boxes, but for me, I want to make it as foolproof as possible so that whether I'm handing my cake to a chef or a nonna at someone's backyard wedding, it's going to be clear enough that you need to put the cake in the fridge. Yeah. You don't put it out in the sunlight for 10 hours before the wedding day. It can be on display for up to 30 minutes. You know, this is how you remove the flowers when you slice it, because those creamy layers, if it's not nut-free, are cashew-based. You know, heat your knife and wipe it clean before you cut. Like all of these things that a chef might know, but you know, an auntie or a grandma in a backyard wedding that just kind of gets left with slicing the cake might not know. So just kind of trying to make it as simple as possible. And then one of the things that we always offer that always gets the restaurants, they're like, no one does this, is that we offer complimentary coulis, aka berry sauce, to serve with the cake, because it's just another element of texture and taste for that final, because the cake is the last thing that you eat at a wedding, and you really want to make it memorable and special. And so just adding a bit of extra caramel or a bit of extra coulis in that final presentation and in that taste, I think is really important. But apparently no one does that. So I'll always have like a little bucket of coulis with my cake box, and they're like, oh, thank you. Like now we don't have to make it.
Yeah.
But it's just to cover the bases, you know, because you know, a lot of people these days don't necessarily go for the traditional option of having something at a venue where everything's taken care of. They'll often have a food truck, and then they'll have this, and then they'll have that. And it's like you can be so specific and intentional in how you plan your wedding now. But one thing I have found is that sometimes, you know, let's say you're getting married at a winery, but the winery is just the venue, and then you've got a food truck for the food. Who is actually cutting the cake?
That's
like
so
it does
true.
kind of get a bit left out sometimes.
Yeah.
So there have been instances where like the bridal party will be like, oh, we'll do it, or something like that.
Yeah.
So in that instance, to be like, okay, this is how we take the flowers off. All right, this is how we slice the cake. Okay, square slices, not triangular giant slices for an actual proper slice yield. And there's coulis. Okay, we put a little spoonful on each, you know, plate before we serve it to people. Like for me, it's like those instances, I just want to make sure we know what we're doing and that cake experience is going to be delicious.
Absolutely. You put so much effort into creating this masterpiece, working with the couple.
Yeah.
You don't want to get right down to the wire and something go crazy. And even if even if the couple are having a venue where there is a chef, that chef may be busy doing other things. So the joy of you providing these instructions is that they can call anyone over to do it. A venue manager might come to do it who doesn't actually make the food, but can have that done. And I think as well, if someone's specifically ordering one of your cakes because of their lifestyle or their allergies, it is excellent to know that you're providing a coulis or a caramel, because a venue may not be able to provide those items within, you know, a sugar-free environment or an allergy-friendly environment. So that's fantastic in that way as well.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, if a venue does offer that, it'll be something they charge for, obviously. Yes. Whereas for us, it's complimentary. It's actually included in the price. So you have the potential to save a bit of money on the price per person, which let's say they charge $2 for that coulis, but you've got 100 guests. you're literally saving $200.
That's
you know?
amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
So Shanti, we know that a lot of vegan practices are obviously a lot more sustainable. However, you know, in business, in any high production situation, environmental thoughtfulness and sustainability can be difficult. But I know from chatting to you that you do have some practices that focus on keeping things local, being environmentally friendly, being sustainable. Can you just give us a little snippet of what you implement to make your business more sustainable? We heard a bit about the flowers and no packaging, keeping it local. You know, what are the other things you're doing in that sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is really hard. Like, I think we're always looking at how we can do things better and wanting to reduce the amount of packaging that we have. But some of the things that we do are things like making sure that the berries that we buy are seasonal when they were picked, even if they're frozen. So, for example, buying berries from Queensland or sort of the northern parts of Australia, the frozen berries when they were in season. So that's kind of within Australia. And then also in strawberry season, I do visit local farms because in Mount Barker, in the Adelaide Hills, there are a lot of strawberry farms, which is amazing. And it's not just Beerenberg, it's all the other ones as well. And they will often have things like jamming strawberries for about $40 a kilo. And they're literally just so smushy from the sun that you can't really like cut them open and present them because they're so soft, but they're so sweet and juicy. So I'll often buy a huge box of jamming strawberries and keep them in my freezer, and I'll use those for like any kind of strawberry flavored jams, gels, putting them in our raw vegan cashew creams to make something strawberry flavored. And then things like our almond meal is from Australia as well. So trying as much as possible to buy local or within Australia where it's sustainable, and then where things like cashews and maple syrup and coconut milk might be bought from our distributors who might buy from places like, you know, Canada and Asia and stuff like that. So as much as possible, we do try to think about where our ingredients are coming from. And then, yeah, as we talked about before, with the flowers as well, I pretty much, not never, but I hardly ever go to the flower market for my flowers. If I have to go to 6 different farms in the Adelaide Hills to get something that is like organically grown or more sustainably grown and seasonal, and I'm not buying something out of season, then I will do that.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a commitment.
So you're putting in, basically what you're saying is you're putting in extra manpower personally yourself to go around and somewhat cut out the middleman and source these things, save on packaging and kind of deal direct, which is a huge help in that way.
Yeah, and it supports other businesses more directly as well, because then they get the money from that direct transaction, you know, rather than going through that middleman.
So Shanti, tell us about the types of cakes and desserts that people are choosing for their day, like what's really popular.
Oh, so many things. Really, as I said before, there is a bit of an anything goes policy. If you like something, we can talk about what it looks like to recreate that. Some of the things that I find are really popular when it comes to maybe the smaller desserts for a canapé style menu would be our little mini cakes. So they're mini cheesecakes or mini baked cakes. One flavour that's really popular is it's a little bit different. We actually bake cookie dough in our little like round silicone trays, and then we might add like a fig jam or a caramel inside and put a cashew cream on top. So it's kind of a hybrid like baked and raw vegan textural style, and they look super cute. It's sort of a bit of a like choc chip crunchy base and then creamy deliciousness on top. And then some of the other stuff that we like to do, if someone's like, I really love, let's say, scones with jam and cream. But, you know, so it'll be like, okay.
Really love that.
I know. And as someone who kind of gluten or dairy, it feels this like extra dreamy novelty where it's like, oh, I haven't had that in years. So sometimes it might be like, okay, well, let's do like a vanilla baked cake, like little minis with a little bit of jam inside and then some vanilla buttercream. So when you bite into it, it's like, oh my God, this tastes like a scone with jam and cream.
Yes.
So just kind of like trying to think about the textural experiences that someone might have, especially when you hear gluten-free. A lot of people are like, ugh, dry. You know, they just expect it to be not great. So for them to kind of feel like, oh, that was amazing, that kind of wowed me a little bit is kind of what we try to go for. But some other options that people have chosen in the past that I find work really well are like the little dessert cups. So you might do like a little cheesecake cup or a little lemon curd tart or something like that. And there's a bit of like biscuit crumb base or nut crumb base with lemon curd, a bit of buttercream, maybe some pistachios, just something you can scoop a spoon into. Some other options that we have as well are our little pops, which are really, really easy to eat because they're like little cheesecakes on pop sticks. They look like a little popsicle ice cream. So people kind of go out and go, oh, well, this is cute little. It's a bit like nostalgic for them.
Yeah, really
and
fun.
Yeah, and we'll do like, you know, golden, we call it golden yay time because I'm not sure I'm allowed to call it golden gay time for like copyright reasons.
They're coming for you. Streets will take you down.
Yeah, that's right. And like Snickers spelled with a Z on the end, also just in case. Or like, you know, a little lemon cheesecake pop dipped in some caramel chocolate or white chocolate. So really just like wanting people to have fun with the eating and that textural element of the cake. But I would say that our dessert minis, which we'll see a little bit later, are really popular because they're quite tall and they're just like this little like beautiful round thing, and you can sort of, you know, if it's a cheesecake layer, you can see lots of different colourful layers with the berries and the lemon and stuff like that. I think people really love that, right? Like colourful aspect of things as well. But yeah, definitely like the I would say actually before COVID, the tall tiered wedding cakes were like 90% of what I did. But now people, I think, are just changing up how they're doing things a little bit. I'm noticing that there's less emphasis on a giant tiered styled cake, and there's like a bit of a fun mix of both, of like having the cake and some minis, or just minis and not having a cake at all, or having a tart and some minis. It's I think I can definitely see there's been a bit of a shift in what people choose to buy, especially as well because people are having much smaller weddings now typically. So they might have 35 to 50 people versus 100 to 150. And they might be sitting down and just having an intimate dinner and they just want something nice. So it doesn't have to be this fancy cake on display. It can just be a couple of minis that we can, you know, they can all share at the dinner table kind of thing.
Just wanting to do a bit of a reveal about myself. You know, I wouldn't like to admit it to myself, but I'm pretty basic. My favourite flavour is chocolate. I love chocolate, love vanilla, which I did hear you throwing those flavours around as more simple, traditional flavours. So, okay, clearly that's me. I love that. Dana, what's your vibe? What's your probably favourite sweet flavour profile?
So I absolutely love caramel, but I don't like caramel flavoured cake. Like it needs to be actual caramel.
Oh, you want to
in the
eat
cake?
the caramel.
With cake.
Yeah.
So like chocolate with caramel. Oh,
what a combo.
So good.
What a combo.
So good.
I
So,
love that.
you know, obviously that's us. So we've got chocolate gal here, caramel gal there.
Yeah.
Shanti, as the cake professional, can you reveal to us your favourite flavour, or even if it's not a cake, what's your favourite sweet flavour profile? What are you craving?
Look, for me, I think it's like the things that I can't typically have because I'm gluten and dairy intolerant that feel like a novelty. So I make this like vegan lemon curd that I'm obsessed with. Like if you put a bowl of that in front of me, I would just eat it like custard. But I'm probably a little bit more traditional as well in that for all the lovely, amazing flavors that I create, like if you just gave me like a choc chip cookie or, you know, like what we're saying before, a scone with jam and cream or like just a piece of carrot cake with some lemon curd, like I'm not super fancy, you know. I love the sort of like more basic traditional stuff as well. But yeah, I do love carrot cake that's just got some walnuts or pecans in it inside without any like fruit or anything. But yeah, I feel like lemon curd is my weakness. And then the other thing that I really love is just anything Nutella, because that, again, that's like something that I can't have, and I just love Nutella. It's just so delicious to me. So anything that's like choc hazelnut related, I'm like, just give me a spoon.
Yeah, a Nutella sandwich is so good.
Oh, Nutella.
I miss it so much. Yeah,
I've been guilty of just whipping the jar out and having a
it's
spoonful.
so good.
So I don't buy it anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Yum.
I literally want to buy a stone grinder, which is like this sort of machine that has these 2 stones, or probably more than that. I don't know really how it works, but it's like all these stones, they just kind of grind together, and you could put like hazelnuts, maybe some coconut sugar, cocoa powder inside, and it just grinds for like hours and hours and hours, and you would literally get actual Nutella. Like healthier, like, you know, gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan-friendly type stuff. And just whenever I think about it, I'm like, I need to buy that grinder and make Nutella.
Please
and jar
buy
it
the
and sell it.
grinder. Do it. But then you have to call it like
Nutella.
So, like golden yay time.
Yeah, exactly.
Nutella. Like, don't sue me, Ferrero.
I think there is even one already that's called Nutella, or like, you know, other raw vegan cake makers will have their Nutella flavor sort of spelt like that.
Differently. Let's call it Shantella. I'm into that. It's like,
I'll
it
take
shan't
that.
be Nutella, but I'm also called Shanti.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
We will taste your Shantella anytime.
right.
Yes, we will.
That almost sounds a bit lewd, but we will. We will any day of the week.
I love it. All right, watch this space.
Love it. Excellent. Okay, we are officially at the most exciting part of this podcast. Shanti, it's not that I don't love hearing you talk. I adore
it's
it.
fine.
But we are at the part of the podcast where we get to look at and then taste your beautiful cakes. I want to describe these, I think, Dana. I think we need
really hard
to
to describe.
describe
Yeah.
this
Yes.
magic we are seeing for those listeners who aren't able to jump onto YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful, Shanti. You've displayed them on this beautiful white plate. I am seeing a cluster of adorable tiny cakes.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm noticing is the gorgeous way and clearly loving way you have garnished every single cake. They're, you know, at a quick look, I'm seeing all different types of piped creams.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a beautiful magenta flowers, you know, purple, yellow, a stunning pistachio crumb. This is on all different types of cakes. I don't know if you could eat those flowers, but they look really good.
They're organically homegrown.
Amazing. Dana, what's popping out to you? What are you seeing?
The lemon, is it dried lemon I can see
Yeah.
on top? That looks
Yeah.
amazing. Is that the lemon curd?
This one?
No,
Or-
to the back. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one
Yeah.
is a baked vanilla layer.
Okay.
And then we have it's like a
my
slight,
gosh.
like a gentle lemon cashew
Oh.
cream.
Yeah.
But then under this vanilla piping, there is a dollop, like a generous dollop
Yeah.
of lemon curd and a generous dollop of raspberry chia jam. So
Oh,
when you
wow.
cut
My
into it, there's like
gosh.
a delicious squishy center.
Amazing.
Yeah, that dehydrated lemon does look so pretty,
It
Dana.
Yeah, it
look
is.
very
They
pretty.
are also
The colours are gorgeous.
sliced and dehydrated on like in our studio as
Oh,
well.
that's
And we press because
amazing.
we grow a lot of these flowers and they just go crazy and they're
Yeah.
always growing. We press them as well. So we'll often like press the
beautiful.
flowers and put them in chocolate bark and then use that to garnish things as
Oh
well.
my gosh,
Gorgeous.
so much
Yeah.
effort. I'm
Yeah.
also loving the colour of the next cake on the plate. It's
Yes.
a beautiful pink colour.
Yeah.
The cake itself, I mean, I'm
It
probably
does look
not
beautiful.
good on the colour wheel. You're a
Yeah.
photographer. You're probably better, Dana. But it's this beautiful pink layer, then with, you know, a more neutral layer at the bottom and this gorgeous white piped cream
Yeah.
with, I think, a little dehydrated fruit and
Yeah.
some beautiful maybe flour and then pistachio, or I'm not sure what I can see.
Yeah, you're right. That one's our berry lemon. So that's like that sort of more raw vegan cheesecake style. So there's a toasted almond and coconut base, which has a bit of crunch to it. And then there's a lovely creamy layer of a lemon cream. And then we have a little bit of lemon curd and jam on the inside, and then a blueberry cashew cream layer on top, and then a bit of like vanilla piping.
So even though these cakes are looking so gorgeous from the outside, there's actually stunning surprises on the inside as well that we can't even see yet.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of the experience as well. Like, and that's one of the things when we were stocking cafes that people always used to kind of comment on. They were like, I love that when you cut into it, there's something inside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So MasterChef-esque.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like a cake, but inside it's really a whole 3-course meal.
I know, right? It's everything. And then let's see over here, we've got this little chocolate one. So these are our little golden yay time.
I want to yay time that straight into my gob
in your mouth.
right now.
Well, there's 2 of those. You can have one each.
Oh my gosh.
So this is like the flavor profile is sort of like vanilla toasted almond chocolate caramel.
Oh my goodness.
So we've got like, again, that sort of almond coconut base, and then we have a vanilla cashew cream, an almond butter cashew cream with some caramel inside, and then a chocolate ganache on top with some piping and a little bit of coconut caramel in there.
Oh my goodness. And then that my mouth's watering. I can't really
one. I know,
can't
right?
look away from the yay time, but then I can see that almost looks like a brownie or I don't know, a mud cake.
Chocolate
like that
mud
looks
cake.
wild
It
as
does
well.
look wild.
Yeah.
Everything looks wild.
That one
Like,
looks decadent.
That's decadent, but I just don't even know what to look at. It looks like each of these cakes, I'm not joking, it looks like each of these cakes took an hour.
Yeah.
I know
it
they're
actually
tiny,
does.
but
Yeah.
the detail, the precision, the smoothness, the gorgeous garnish. If you told me every single one of them, if you told me that's a 7-hour plate, I would believe you. I would also demolish it in less than 7
I know,
minutes.
right? Just
But-
like face planted.
Yeah. So what's
This
the
one
brownie?
is
or the-
kind of like a chocolate mud cake. So again, it's all gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan-friendly, soy-free and nut-free. So it's baked chocolate mud cake with butter, like a chocolate buttercream, and again that caramel, the coconut caramel. And then this one is similar, but it's a raspberry chia jam inside, which is one of our homemade jams that we make. Just a bit of a like healthier twist on jam. It's raspberries, maple syrup, and chia seeds with a bit of vanilla. Like very simple recipe, but just very like natural tasting. It's got a real like raspberry zing to it. So that's one of our flavors, and we'll also often do this with either a chocolate piping or a vanilla piping. And that's a very popular option for a lot of people.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
are those flowers and like what you're garnishing sort of outlining to you what's in there? Because, I mean, you would know because you made them, but to me, the 2 mud cake ones have a similar look, but I noticed one's got the magenta, one's got the purple. So that's kind of you going, this one's got the jam inside.
Well, really, when they were in the box, what I try to do is not have one colour near the other. So it's more so just like, I'm going to put a purple one here and a purple one over there, but not next to it.
Okay.
And then a yellow one here and a yellow one over there. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, can't have the same colour next to the other colour.
I like that though. I always love
pretty.
looking. It does. And I love looking at your Instagram, and it almost looks like they're not real. They're so beautiful. And
know.
seeing them in real life, I'm in a bit of a frenzy, I'll admit. I'm frenzying right now.
It's like when we go to a market, people be like, they look too pretty to eat. And I'm like, they do, but do buy them and eat them.
Please buy them and eat them, please.
absolutely.
They are so beautiful.
Well, should we
try?
cut some up?
I thought you'd never ask.
This looks incredible. Okay, so which one are you going to try first?
Maybe I'll try the yay time because I frothed about that before, and
I'm
then you
gonna
can try
try-
the caramel one because you love caramel.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. Cool, I'll get a little bit of everything.
So, wait, is this the first time you've eaten something live on air on the podcast?
Yeah, I've never eaten anything.
Love it.
Doug doesn't normally let us eat on the podcast.
Oh, Doug.
I didn't check this by
We
him
need to
either.
give
Doug,
Doug
why can't we
cake.
eat? Because we make weird noises.
He can have some of mine.
Have your lunch while you.
Why? I will have my lunch when I please.
I just want to eat a bag of chips while we're on the podcast.
Do
Is that
what I
not
want
okay?
when I want.
Yeah. All right.
It's like
You want to go
podcast
first?
is about, it's not about having a packet of chips.
That's true.
True.
Oh, the smell.
In a podcast first, we are now going to eat live on air. Okay, I can't really say live because we are recording
We're
this.
now doing ASMR.
Yeah.
The wedding edit does
Chew loudly.
ASMR.
Lots of like cake.
Yeah, tapping.
Yeah.
If only I had acrylic nails, I could
I know,
tap them
right?
on the plate and then eat. But seriously, so I frothed on this yay time, Shanti. Mm-hmm. I'm about to put it in my gob.
I'm very
Then I will
excited for you.
ask Doug lovingly to pause the recording so you don't hear the slapper-lapping as I absolutely devour this. But I'm about to report back on the flavour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. This is, I can't say the F word. So if we were live on radio, it would sound like this. This is phenomenal. It is yay time, all the way time.
Oh yeah.
And it's delicious. I know I have like 10 to try, but I'm just going to have
Yeah.
that
Another
is-
bite
How can
of
you
the
not
one
have
you
a
love?
second
There
bite?
is
Yeah.
such a creaminess to that. I love the sweetness, but like you said, there's no sickly sweet.
Yeah.
Now my jaw aches from sugar.
Yeah, it's not overpowering. It's like
A creamy.
that was nice and satisfying, but not like, ugh, now I have a headache.
Is there like a nuttiness, but there's not actually. So it's not like I'm eating nuts.
Yeah,
But
there's
there's
an almond butter layer.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A really creamy nuttiness, and it's the smoothest
Yeah.
texture. And I'm just gonna have some more in case
love
I
it.
miss something.
So this,
water.
I just tried the chocolate caramel, which is like absurdly delicious. And it's gluten free.
Yep.
It's gluten free.
I know. A lot of
What?
people, when they taste the chocolate cake, they're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
How is this
It's
gluten free?
it's like doing my head in so much because like, yeah, go for it. It's yeah. It's gluten free.
I'm chewing into a microphone. It's the most perfect,
Yeah.
light, but rich, moist cake.
Oh, I'm so glad you love it.
You have come to the right place.
Yeah.
You want people to appreciate your food, girl.
Oh, that's so good.
Everyone immediately cancel your wedding cake and go to From the Wild. Oh my gosh. I'm kidding. I love all my cake
Yeah.
supplies out there. I'm so
Or
sorry.
at least accept a quote for a free tasting.
This caramel.
It's amazing.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to bake, so I don't know how you usually make caramel, but it shocks me that there aren't like allergens in here.
I know. Actually, I feel like caramel is one of those things that's come a long way. There are a lot more recipes out there and even
Okay.
companies. Actually, the caramel that we use is made. I'm a big believer in like making things handmade,
Yes.
but when someone else does it as good or better than me in their own dedicated space, buy from them.
Absolutely.
So the caramel is made by a company that makes the most beautiful vegan cake products. So they do like a coconut whipping cream. They have a caramel. They have a chocolate fudge sauce that is insanely delicious.
Oh my gosh.
All gluten-free, all vegan, all refined,
Wow.
sugar-free.
Oh my- This
They have-
caramel's refined sugar-free.
Yep.
What?
What?
It tastes like it's refined sugar free.
It
I know.
tastes like
Yeah.
my mind is
Amazing.
blown.
Yeah.
The lemon
Okay.
curd is insanely good.
Yeah.
I haven't done that one yet.
So I just tried it, but then I tried the lemon curd by itself as well, and it was just amazing.
Amazing.
I'm going there
Yeah.
next. I'm trying this one with this raspberry. Is this
Yeah.
the one with the chia seeds
Yeah. In the raspberry jam.
in the raspberry jam and just the maple syrup? That's what
Yeah.
makes this jam.
Yeah. That's the
I'm keen to get into
jamminess.
that. Oh, that
just nice
jam's
and
got
fresh.
It's really fresh.
Yeah.
That's a perfect. I'm just gonna have some jam on its own.
Yeah. That jam actually is one of my favorites.
I'd murder that on a bit of a
I know,
scone.
right?
Sorry,
Oh, so
sorry,
good.
Shanti.
Yeah.
A scone with heaps of flour.
A murdered scone.
So what? I haven't had the lemon curd. Okay, so
It was so good.
we've got this cakey looking base.
Yeah.
This darker yellow center, and then this lighter white on top. Just
Yeah.
remind me again what we're
Yeah,
looking
so
at.
that's baked vanilla.
Baked vanilla.
Baked vanilla cake with a lemon cream and a bit of lemon curd, raspberry jam, and vanilla buttercream.
Stunning. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm about to bang it in the gob.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's looking really pretty. It smells really fragrant.
Yeah, you can smell the lemon.
You can. It smells beautiful. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. It
Oh,
kind
wow.
of is like different layers of flavour because there's
my gosh,
the
that
lemon
lemon
cashew
curds.
cream with a bit of the actual lemon curd and then the jam. So it's kind of like a couple of things going on there.
Oh, my.
Mm-hmm.
Beepity beep
The yay
beep.
times.
Yeah. Golden Yay Time is definitely one of the most popular flavours.
That's my favourite, but only because that's the flavour profile I always love.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be someone who would always go for a lemon curd or a citrus flavour in dessert. I don't know why, because as we said before, I'm a basic. But that is, I would devour that and I'd go back for more.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
one's a raw one.
Yeah, that's kind of that sort of raw vegan style. Yeah.
Wait, which one's raw
The
vegan?
Golden Yay Time.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So that's raw vegan. Then what about the lemon curd one? Just tastes like it has just got lashings of butter and cream. And I know it doesn't, but that's
that's how it tastes.
the flavour is perfect in that way.
And that's kind of like what we're going for in that, you know, you want to feel like the thing about when you have a dietary is that you often feel like you're missing out.
Yes.
You're missing out on something traditional that everyone else gets to have, or you're missing out on the type of dessert that everyone else has because you have something different. Yeah.
So everything on this plate is vegan friendly.
Yeah, and gluten-free.
Every single thing is vegan friendly and gluten free, and then we're seeing different levels of nut free
Flavors, yeah.
or not nut free.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Doug, are you going to taste some of this and give a description? Are we going to be able to? Are we going to get
Very
Doug's
important.
gorgeous rumble of thunder voice on this podcast?
He's not a dessert person.
That's okay. My husband isn't either. No judgment.
Pretty.
Yeah. Actually, my husband, he helped me make cakes for many years. And everyone's like, oh, it must be so hard, you know,
Yeah.
eating
all the
making
delicious
all
food.
these cakes and stuff. And he's like, I hate cake.
Does he now love it?
No.
Still?
He loves the caramel and he likes the caramel chocolate that we get from Loving Earth. And he likes dipping dates in peanut butter. And I think that's the extent of his
wow.
sweet tooth.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
quite.
Dates
Yeah.
and peanut butter sounds nice.
I know. I think
It's
dates
pretty
are quite
delicious.
amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Do you use dates a lot in your cooking?
Not as much as people might assume.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the raw vegan stuff is quite typically date heavy.
Yeah.
And so I think I probably erred away from trying to make it too date heavy because I didn't. Dates are great until there's too much in some of them
Then
in
it's
something.
quite
And
an
then it's like
overpowering
really
flavour.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, overpowering. It's like this acidic sweetness. It's kind of in your throat a bit and it's a bit like, oh, what's going on here? So we do use a date caramel and we do use dates in some things, but we don't rely on it maybe as much as other raw vegan cake makers might.
Yeah, wow. And that's why your stuff has, I really think, a unique flavour profile.
Yeah.
It does taste, I shouldn't say legit, but,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have dietary requirements and I'm not vegan and it tastes like the things that I usually eat.
Yeah.
I would easily, knowing that this is made by a small business, that you take steps to be sustainable, that it's giving me a bit more of that raw, nurturing, good little bits of food while I'm indulging, I would 100% choose to eat one of these items.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And just so we know, I have 100% chosen to just smash the rest of my Golden Yay Time and this cake while you've been talking in the last 1 minute. It's gone.
It's so funny. I literally had someone contact me the other day and they were actually from Melbourne and they just wanted to buy a box of cakes because we do a lot of like mixed boxes online and stuff. And she was like, I'm literally just in Adelaide for 2 days and I really wanted to buy a box of your cakes. And I said, okay, well, you know, like the sort of like the minimum spend for like a mixed box where there's lots of things in a box because a lot of them are like pre-made and pre-assembled and they're in the freezer ready for orders.
Okay.
It's, you know, $60 and it's like 8 little cakes. So it's kind of like a mix of what you just had times 8.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my goodness, that's way too much for me. And I said, that's totally fine. Look, it is our minimum like amount. So if you do want the cakes, you have to buy that box. But I recommend sharing them with friends.
Absolutely.
Or if you're staying with someone, give them to a host or something like that. And like, but I was like, but also you might eat all of them.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
you will.
I've heard those kinds of confessions from my customers too.
I can 100% see
Yeah.
how that would happen.
Yeah.
But as well, I think, having that minimum, we've just heard from you the absolute detail, the love that goes into
Yeah.
these cakes, but also the logistics of having the right ingredients, preparing
Yeah.
every element to this. And looking at the cakes in person, I can barely
They're
talk because my
beautiful.
mouth is so full of cake. But they are so exquisite. And there are just hours and hours of love poured into every box.
Yeah.
So when you think $60 as a minimum spend, I'm actually really blown away.
Yeah, same.
I
Yeah.
think that's so
Like
Affordable.
economical and
cost-effective.
very
Yeah.
affordable.
Well, I mean, in saying that, I think by the time that this podcast is released, it will no longer be $60.
Yeah.
Because
No, to
inflation.
everyone, it will now be $160.
Yeah.
But honestly, in saying that, obviously we have inflation. We've just come out of COVID.
Yeah.
But I have to say, everyone's budget is really important to focus on, and I'm not taking
Yeah.
away from that. But I'm pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
to hear that. And when you go to a cafe,
Yeah.
you can pay $10 for a piece of sweet
Yeah.
that is just churned out
Yeah.
of probably a factory that hasn't, it's probably still wonderful and those
Yeah.
businesses are running that, but this is like a almost homemade. I know you're
Yeah.
a professional business, but it's like you've sat in your kitchen for hours and attended to these. That's how it feels. You can really taste that love. So
Yeah.
I mean,
100%. Yeah.
what's
love
that
it.
saying? Shut up and take my money.
Yes. And you can have your cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. I have had my cake today and I have eaten it too.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, that's great.
So Shanti, thank you so much for coming today and for bringing so many lovely treats for us. It's been phenomenal and so delicious. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun connecting with you both, talking, laughing, eating cake. I mean, what more could you possibly want on a Monday?
The best way to start the week.
So good.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So if you're wondering where to find Shanti from the Wild, so her website is fromthewild.com.au. You can find her on Instagram at fromthewildau. And then on Facebook, you can also find her from the Wild AU.
If you're having as much fun with the podcast as we are, we would love you to review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Wedding Edit. We'll be back with our next episode in 2 weeks.